Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you everyone for joining our live event today. My name is Zoya. I am the first Atlas Core Fellow from Kyrgyzstan, serving at the Transparency and Accountability Initiative. And I am fellow from class 38 based here in DC, Washington, DC. So Atlas Core continues its live discussions with the People Power Hour, 3Ps, People Power Hour virtual series, where we discuss global issues from a variety of perspectives. We at Atlas Core hope that you're doing all well and staying safe during these difficult times. Today, our topic is Women in Tech. Women's role in global progress is critical to making the world a safer and more equal place. And many women are making a major social impact in the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or the STEM industry. So today we have great speakers to share with us about their experience being women in STEM. And I'd like to start with an agenda to see what we're going to be talking about today. Firstly, I will present today's topic and provide you with some brief statistics about women in tech. After that, we will have a panel discussion with our experts, Atlas Core Fellows and alumni who are working in tech in different countries. And at the end of our session, we would be happy to answer your questions or share your feedback. Ask your questions in the comments below and share information about women working in tech in your country. If you do not have any questions, just please share the city where you're coming from, and we will be very happy to have you in our discussion as a participant asking questions or just as a viewer. So let's now talk more about women in tech and look at those interesting numbers. According to the Women in Tech Index, women working in technology remain a modern-day minority. They make up only 17.5% of the workforce worldwide. PriceWaterhouseCooper's research shows that women hold only 5% of leadership positions in the tech industry. However, including more women in tech could help everyone. According to a Boston Consulting Group study of 350 startups, private tech companies that are led by women have 35% higher returns than those led by men. Women's leadership and participation in the tech industry is vital for progress. Now let's look at gender gap in technology. Next slide, please. Currently, due to gender stereotypes and barriers to women and girls' education, there continues to be a gender gap in women's access to technology. According to the National Science Foundation, women made up only 19% of students who earned computer science degrees in 2016. Out of the women who received those computer science degrees, only 38 are actually working in tech, compared to 53% of men. What about access to technology? In addition to a gender gap in the technology workforce and education systems, women face unequal access to technology at home. According to the Global Fund for Women, 200 million more men have access to the internet than women, and women are 21% less likely to have a cell phone, which are two vital resources that are important in our rapidly changing world. Women's increased access to technology could help female entrepreneurs in their communities, that's for sure. Now, let's engage our audience. Dear viewers, could you please type in the comments below names of women who have thrived and made important contributions to technology for centuries? Do you know anyone? Do not worry if you don't know any of them, because according to the PriceWaterhouseCooper's research, 78% of students can't name a famous female working in tech. So feel free to start typing the famous women in tech that you know. And again, if you don't know, nothing to worry about. Now we're going to learn about some of these women. So known as the first programmer, Ada Lovelace, you can see her picture to the left on the slide. Ada Lovelace wrote down how one could use an engine to translate calculations into computations. As the daughter of the poet Lord Byron, Lovelace's mother hoped that she would pursue a less poetic field and made sure that she took math and music lessons. In her research, she noted that her computer invention would hopefully make the way for computer-generated music. Accomplished actress Hedy Lamarr pioneered the technology that made secure Wi-Fi, GPS, and Bluetooth possible in the 1940s. During World War II, she invented radio technology that would switch frequencies, protecting Allied torpedoes from the Nazis. Although the US military acknowledged her work and still uses the technology today, Lamarr and her family never, unfortunately, received financial compensation for the multi-billion-dollar idea. You may also recognize Katherine Johnson as a character in the movie Hidden Figures. She is the person to the right of the slide. Johnson worked for NASA for 30 years during a time where the STEM field was lacking both women and people of color in the US. She calculated the math that sent the first American into space and sent American astronauts to the moon. Okay, let's talk more in depth about the importance of women in tech with our alumni and fellows who are promoting women's role in STEM fields in their home countries, currently now during their fellowship and doing that worldwide. Okay, dear Hira, Meriem, Elvira, hello again. Can you please briefly introduce yourself to our audience using our favorite Atlas core facts? Hira, maybe you can start.
Okay, my name is Hira Saeed. I served, I was a fellow of Atlas Core class 31. I'm basically from Karachi, Pakistan, and I was one of the few tech fellows who came from the background of like working in the technology sector instead of like the development sector. And I served an accelerator in the Bay Area called Miller Center for Social Entrepreneurship. Over there, I was working on SDG 5, which is gender equality. I was actively working with women entrepreneurs from all around the world and bringing gender parity in the cohort of Miller Center. Other than that, earlier before I stepped into this this journey of Atlas Core Fellowship, I was actively working in Pakistan, especially in the tech industry. I worked as a tech journalist for over 2 years. Earlier than that, I was working in the corporate sector. My main area has always been content branding and marketing. And then also I was heavily involved with the startup ecosystem of Pakistan. And I was working with a lot of incubators and accelerators here to bring more women into tech. And right now, as we speak, I'm also running a social enterprise called Caterpillars. We provide women-led businesses and access to business curriculum, support network, and mentorship. So yeah, I think that's it. I've like skipped a lot of stuff. That's okay to give all of you the chance to speak.
Great, thank you for the introduction. And to add to what you just said, so in the summer of 2020, I know that Caterpillar Hearth was named as one of the 8 recipients of the Advancing Women's Empowerment Fund by the Aspen Network of Development Entrepreneurs. So congratulations, this is
Thank you.
Wonderful.
And I'd also like to mention that the grant that I got was with the partnership of my host organization. So this is for all the fellows working in the US right now and based everywhere in the US. The partnership that I made when I came back to Pakistan was with my host organization. So all of you who are working, do not cut ties to the organization that you're currently serving, because that led me to win this grant when I came back to Pakistan.
A great example of very effective collaboration too. So thank you so much, Hira, for sharing about your background. Meriem, would you like to go next?
Sure. So my name is Meriem. I'm an Atlas Core Fellow from Algeria, class 36. I'm currently serving at Boodle AI here in Virginia, which is a predictive analytics company that build predictive models and use AI, machine learning, to create predictive models that bring insight to our customers. So it's all about data. I have 5 years experience in, so I have a computer science background and 5 years experience in software engineering, IT project management, product management, information system analysis. And at some point in my career, I wanted to, I became curious about business and data. So I switched to data and business analysis. And this is what I'm currently doing on my host. My social issues, I'm really passionate about youth education, women education, and youth and women empowerment. So this is what I'm working towards to here in the US, and hopefully I will implement it back home.
Great, thanks for sharing, Meriem. And I also want to add here that you have outstanding accomplishments behind your belt. So I know that you were heavily involved in redesigning the Postal Services information system in Algeria. So working on the national country level, which might not have been a very easy task.
Not really. Yeah, it was a big project, national project. And yeah, so Algeria is the largest country in Africa. So you can like all the postal services there. It was huge.
Yeah, well, maybe you can share a little bit more about it later on in our discussion. I, for one, am very excited to hear about it.
Sure.
So thank you, Meriem. Elvira.
Hi, everyone. So thank you, Zoya, for having me and everyone else. So my name is Elvira, and I am based in New York in an organization called PriceWaterhouseCooper, and I come from Kenya, as Zoya earlier mentioned, and I am a software engineer as well as a blended learning associate or expert. So my job is pretty interesting because, yeah, of course, I get to deal with this, coding and also the other technical bit of, education, which is my social issue. I'm very passionate about that. And so PriceWaterhouse is a college that trains adults in tech skills, coding, cybersecurity, and all that. So I am attached to the software engineering team, and I do back-end development of Canvas, which is currently one of the platforms that we use for training, especially with this COVID thing and everything. So yeah, when I am not teaching software engineering, I am, doing other back-end stuff on Canvas or CRM like Salesforce and all that. So yeah.
Thank you, Elvira. And it's a very interesting combination, being a woman in tech and being passionate about education. And I know that you are mentoring young people between the age of 13 and 18, raising awareness for opportunities in STEM courses and careers for these young people. So it's great that not only are you in the tech yourself, but you're also inspiring the new generation of young boys and girls, I assume, to go into tech as well. So thank you very much for introducing yourself. Now I would like to start our discussion. And I am very curious, when I was preparing for this discussion, how did you start your career in tech? How did you decide that this is what I want to do? this is what I want to study. This is what I want to dedicate my life to. And were your parents and family supportive of your decision? Because many would call it sort of a men's profession. Can you share about your journey into the life of tech, women in tech?
I can go.
Okay, Meriem, please.
So I've always been good at STEM subjects in school, especially math. I always loved numbers. I enjoyed solving problems and finding unique and innovative ways of solving them using practical approach, including numbers and logic. I've also always been curious about technology, so I think I made it into the tech field naturally, since computer science is all about math, logic, and finding solutions that make our daily life easier. My parents were 100% supportive, even if, as you said, it's not uncommon to hear that it's a manly field. They were always present, involved, and helpful. They always encouraged me to do whatever I want and supported me through my choices. So big shout out to them from the US to Algeria.
It's very good to hear that the people closest to you were very supportive of your decision. How about Elvira? How did you start your career in tech?
So I'll start from scratch. I mean, I first got my tech experience, at the age of 11 years when I was working part-time in a local computer store back in my village, doing simple tasks like, photocopying, just typing and all that. And then later on in high school, pursued computer studies as a subject. And, thereafter I went to the university and earned my bachelor's degree in IT. And, I see myself as a naturally someone who is inclined to problem solving, just like Meriem. And I like to see things done. And tech it was just like an obvious career venture for me. And in terms of family, of my parents influencing my move in the field, I would say they were just, supportive. They didn't question much or really meddle into my choice, but they'll just pay tuition fees, ask how I'm performing in school, and, they were happy, or they're still happy generally with my progress. And being the tech person in the family, I also get solve all the family issues in terms of tech. And so I think they like it. And I mean, I don't think tech is like a man's profession. It only happens that men ventured into it a bit more before us. But, right now women are kind of reclaiming their throne in a feminist voice. Yeah.
Thank you, Elvira. Well, with ladies like yourself, we certainly are reclaiming that role. Hira, what about your experience?
So interestingly, I did not want to be in the tech industry, and I never planned to be in the one. So when I was growing up, I was really fascinated with the idea of whole banking system, and I really wanted to be a banker because I used to think that they're the most luckiest people on planet Earth. They only sit and they only like count money, and they're paid well, and they always sit in those fancy buildings. And I was really fascinated by the entire banking system, and I really wanted to be a banker. And I was about to take admission in chartered accountancy. So yeah, there was a really different path that I was about to take, but I still remember because I belong to a very middle class family, and in Pakistan, the entire field of like getting through the ACCA and CA degree was really bit expensive. So I got a scholarship from the university where I studied. And so my background is not from like I did not do software engineering. I have a bachelor's in business administration. So I got the scholarship from there. So I took my degree in BBA. And then when we were like about to pass out, they asked us what sort of majors do you want to take. And then I chose marketing, advertising, and all the other e-commerce and different sort of like majors there. But interestingly, I did not plan to be in the tech. But yes, if you ask me in general, while I was growing up, I was really fascinated by technology. I was like one of those girls who always played video games. I did not have a life outside my home. I have never been like an outdoor person. So my childhood is basically it was spent playing video games and like learning how to draw objects on MS Paint. So yeah. So I think that was the part where I was like learning computers and getting fascinated by the technology at the early stage. And then when I grew up, I kept on like exploring that path, and then I did my BBA and MBA, and that's when I realized that one thing that I'm really interested in, and the stuff that when I do, I don't feel like that I'm working with the technology industry. So I still on the same path where I studied from, business and entrepreneurship and everything else, but I really love technology, and I think that's how it started. And yeah, my parents were like, they were totally supportive. They were totally supportive when I was about to do my CA as well. But they were supportive about my BBA and MBA too, and now what I do as well. They sometimes like cannot figure out what exactly that I do, but still they're really supportive of it.
Thank you, Hira. Well, it's great to hear once again that the support of the people closest to us is very important. And it's also very encouraging to hear that to be a woman leader in tech, you don't actually have to have very technical education, and that women from different backgrounds can come into the field. So now on to my next question, which I think it would be more related to the experience that Elvira and Meriem had in their universities. But the second part of the question is certainly to all of you. So the university that I attended for my undergraduate degree, the American University of Central Asia, had a very strong software program. And it was one of the most difficult to get into and one of the most difficult to stay in. And out of an average of 15 to 20 students each year there, only 1 or 2 were girls. And students of other programs always looked at them as sort of a separate caste, if you will. And we thought that they lived in a world of their own, and that they had their own rules, they were their own people, and in general that they were very, very tough. So how did your university classes or your university experience looked like as someone who studied a STEM-related subject? And also a more general question, how common is it to see women in tech in your countries, in Pakistan, in Algeria, in Kenya? Elvira, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. So my university classes, I'll say, were very exciting, torturous, and crazy in a good way. And crazy, I mean, for example, coding languages like Java, where at that point in time, it was meant, by our predecessors, like, Java classes are going to be crazy. But the interesting thing is that actually Java happens to be one of the easiest programming languages, as I discovered later. And in terms of class population, of course, we had, less girls. You found, like my class, we were either 7 or 8, and we had like 40 guys. Can't remember exact number because people hop on and off, but yeah, you can see the disparity in the those figures, so it wasn't very nice. But in my country at large, it's actually called Silicon Savannah because it's celebrated for its use of technology to solve the world problems and all that. So, and we are also doing well because we have women-led startups, like there's a famous booking platform called Bupas. You can purchase your flight tickets, bus tickets, and travel around and all that. So I feel like you're doing great. There's so many women groups or meetups that are organized by women, and a part of many of them conducting mentorship programs across the country. And so I would say generally in the last 5 years at least, when I've been very active in tech scene as a profession, we have, gone an extra mile positively. We've improved greatly, and yeah, we're doing well. So I think any woman pursuing STEM field in my country right now is at a better position than they were like 10 years ago. So yeah, we're good.
Thank you, Elvira. Well, it's definitely good to hear that Kenya has gone forward in welcoming women in tech, and that people, young women including, are in better position to pursue that career. Also, in part, thanks to the kind of mentoring programs that you are running, I'm sure. And thank you for the very practical tip here. For those of you who want to start learning a programming language, Java, Elvira says, is not as scary as everything else. Okay, thank you, Elvira. Meriem, would you like to continue?
Yeah, sure. So I went to the Higher School of Computer Science in my country, in Algiers, and it was definitely one of the hardest programs to get into. I remember, to be accepted, a student must have like excellent high school grades and perfect academic curriculum. In my time, so we were required to have 18 out of 20 in STEM subjects. It was the minimum required. And once you get in, the courses were like a combination of classes with heavy emphasis on algorithms, programming, math, logic, data. So it was definitely tough. And to stay in, you need to maintain a 60% score of the average class. So it was hard, but exciting. But you need like to work very, very hard. For the gender gap, so we're doing way better now than before. It's more common to see women in tech in general, whether academically or professionally, but we've always had more men than women at school and at work. So I have 5 years of experience, and during most of them, I was the only female at my workplace. So it's kind of interesting, but hopefully we're doing better now. I think there is a place in tech for all of us, men and women combined from different backgrounds with different experiences. So yeah.
Thank you, Meriem. That's interesting that you're saying that you were the only woman among the men working in the job that you just mentioned. Ooh, that might have been quite an experience, just being the only of a kind in the environment that is dominated by men. But we're going to talk more about that too later on. And thank you for sharing your experience. Classes in the university can be really, really tough, and I hope that does not scare any viewers who are considering a career in tech. So if you love what you're doing, just go for it. And Hira, would you like to share your experience?
So yeah, so as I mentioned, I did not did my degree in software engineering, but while I was doing my BBA, like things were sort of similar during my university tenure as well. We were only like 3 to 4 girls, and we used to like take all the front benches in the class, and there were like 30, 40 guys in the class. But yeah, as I started my career from so all the companies that I've worked with in the past, they've always been software houses. So I had this realization earlier in my career as well, that so only all these companies where I've worked, women were used to like had positions like HR manager, hiring associate, or maybe at the front desk officer, or maybe maximum as a graphic designer or something. But there were like very less women who code, and there were like very less women who were basically building products. And I think there was a time when I realized, okay, so even though I did not like take my degree in software engineering, that was the first time I got exposed to this problem. that, okay, so I've been working in the industry for so long, and okay, so I handle the marketing department, but there's a huge department where people build products, where there are a lot of men who code day and night, and who basically are the backbone of the company because they build something, but they're in that department, there's like not a single girl. Why is that? So I think there was the time early in my career when I got exposed to this issue, and then I had a discussion with a lot of people. When I got the chance to interview people, I actually talked to a lot of women as well. So yeah, I think early in my, so the sort of experience Meriem and Elvira had in their high school and their university, I got exposed to this issue when I started working in the IT sector here in Pakistan. And I feel, and I echo what Elvira said earlier as well, that things are like getting a lot better. Things are very different from where we started. I've been in this industry for I think past 8 years, and what it was 8 years ago, it's totally different now, especially in the tech entrepreneurship as well. There are a lot of women who, even if they are not coder, even if they do not program, they still like building products. They understand the tech industry. They navigate the ecosystem like much better than what they used to. So I think, yeah, we've come, Pakistan in general have come really, really far. And I'm really, really hopeful like we're on the right track on this as well. And I think that's what keeps me going as well. If things were like not getting better, if the work that I was doing here and I'm doing right now, if it wasn't bringing any sort of impact, I would have like backed out. But I think that's what keeps me going, because things are getting a lot better than what they used to be earlier.
Thank you, Hira. Please stay in tech, please stay in STEM, and please continue encouraging others. And it's very good to hear that in all of the countries that we are discussing today, where our speakers are coming from, Kenya, Algeria, and Pakistan, the situation is becoming better and better. This is very encouraging. And it's difficult to imagine how it was like years ago when almost no women were in tech. And as Miriam's example shows, she was the only one at some point. So today, although we're saying that the situation is getting better, still only 17.5% of women who have a degree in computer science or a related field are working in technology globally today. And you are the women who are part of the 17.5%, and we are very privileged to speak to you today. So I want to ask a question: why you think this number is still so small in our day and age, or the age of rapid technological development, the so-called digital age? Why do you think there's still very few women in this field?
I can take this. So I personally feel that things went wrong earlier in the generation when we were growing up. And one of the insights that I had when I was like when I talked to a lot of like women entrepreneurs from all around the world, and people like women who work in tech, I feel the problem started very, very early when we were kids. Daughters, like, they used to get toys like crockeries and makeup stuff, and I don't know, fashion products and dolls, and like guys were exposed to toys like planes, cars, and then toys to like build something. I feel that things went wrong at that time when you are not exposed to an industry, when you're not exposed to an industry which has huge opportunity for a huge population, for an entire gender. That's what happens when you grow up. So even if I take my example, I had an access to a computer as much as my brother had, but there are a lot of kids who are still like playing with dolls, because it's not that they went to the store and they purchased the dolls, because like parents like willingly they thought the dolls are for girls, and all the other toys that we get for guys is for basically guys. So I think this generation where we are right now, things like sort of like went wrong earlier, and what numbers that we see right now is basically the consequences of what we did later. And I think the responsibility now is on us, that when we become parents, we feel that it's our responsibility, that we give our daughters an equal chance to explore all the fields. We expose them to all the other opportunities that are available there. And I think, yeah, that's it.
Okay. Anyone else would like to add in?
Yeah,
Meriem?
I can add to this. So I agree with Hira. There is definitely what we call the gender stereotypes. So I keep seeing some parents, like from an early age, they keep saying like boys are better at science and math than girls, and this will discourage them to study STEM subjects. And this will lead later on to a lack of talent pool. So the employers will definitely have a gender biased talent pool while hiring for tech positions. I also I read a lot and I keep researching a lot, and ask my women fellows in tech what do they think about this issue. And what they call in-group favoritism keeps coming in. And so according to a lot of studies, they say that managers tend to recruit those who are culturally similar to themselves, like same interests, same tastes, same hobbies, same experience. So if we apply this theory to the tech world, it's easy to see how a group of male friends will recruit other males when expanding a tech startup. Again, I agree with Hira. Now it is our responsibility, like we are women in tech. So we definitely should talk more with daughters, friends, the girls we know. Like the tech field is amazing. So if you are curious about tech, love tech, you just go for it.
This is
Thank
so
you,
awesome.
Meriem.
I mean, I'm very happy that both Hira and Miriam have just pointed out what clearly is actually happening out there. And I'll just add that the tech industry has a long way to go towards equity and even equality in the workplace. Because what is happening is women are just not even getting promoted into senior tech roles. Like it's very minimal, almost not happening. So, and there's real lack of I'll say sponsorship. People in senior position and typically men supporting women's work and efforts. And so the fact is, just as Zoya mentioned, companies recognize the 17% is not good enough, and they say that they're looking for women to promote. But the unfortunate thing is, we still want the right balance in the room, which is not there. And so that will only come from helping women in the middle level, who are mostly like us, where we are right now, to progress. And if you look at other industries, women in tech often don't really apply for a job if they don't feel 100% qualified, or have even the exact experience as men. So as a result, women keep on moving horizontally and the male continue progressing. So yeah, we need to do more, but again, our workplaces need to do more.
I'd also like to add one thing here. There is a very famous quote, and I don't know who said it. I do not want to say the wrong name. The quote is, "You do not become what you don't see." And that is about the lack of role models in the tech industry. It mainly happens when we were growing up. My parents, or my parents of my parents, we did not see enough role models for us to get inspiration from. We did not see any woman from my family who has a very interesting position in the tech industry, who leads a software house, or maybe who leads a company which basically build tech products. So eventually when you're growing up, when you're not exposed to enough role models from one industry, you tend to feel that that industry is not for you. And I think when we once we start looking at from the perspective of how everything is connected, when I mentioned that it started very earlier, it started building the stereotype that okay, so XYZ industry is for men, XYZ industry is for women. And then while we started growing up, we sort of did not see any woman in in that specific industry as well. And then our bias, our own stereotype, it got validated. It was like, okay, yeah, so people were right. This industry is for men, this industry is for women. And even if women work in the tech industry, they get as a position as an HR person, or maybe as a front desk officer, or maximum in the marketing department, never as someone who's building something. So I feel, yeah, enough lack of role models, lack of exposure in the early childhood, and a lot of stereotypes that lasted from from our previous generations.
Thank you very much for sharing your perspectives on these situation. And what I hear is that we really need to go deep into the root cause of the problem. We need to look at how our daughters and sons are raised. We really need to look into how these gender stereotypes are being formed, and we need to create a space for role models, and we need to make sure that the next generation has those role models that they can look up to. So my last question to the speakers before we move to the Q&A, can each of you please briefly describe one project that you're either currently working on or have worked on and you are very, very proud of? Hira, would you like to start?
Yeah, so I think so earlier when I was in Pakistan, before I started my fellowship, this is the project that I've worked in the past, but I think it's interesting that I should mention this. When I started my fellowship with Atlas Core earlier, the first time I got exposed to this entire problem of like having less women in tech, that's when we organized like startup weekends, especially for women. And then that was the time when I got to know that there were like a lot of women who work in this industry, but we actually have to enable them. We actually have to provide them equal opportunities. We actually have to give them the same representation as the other gender gets. So I think all of these things that I've worked with, they all led me to start Caterpillars, which I currently work with. So Caterpillars is basically a social enterprise. We help impact first businesses, but the future goal is to bring all sorts of industry, be it like women in tech, be it somebody who is working just in the impact sector, be it somebody who is working in the who's working as a venture capitalist, anyone. The future goal is to build a community of all those women who are working in these interesting fields and bring them together and give them an access to business education, give them an access to tools and equipments that they require to flourish in their career, give them an access to the community, because that's another very interesting insight that women need their exclusive spaces to flourish in this industry and in the other industries as well. They need the support of other women who've been through, who share the same struggle to flourish in this industry. So I think to answer your question, Caterpillars for me is one of the exciting things that I'm working on. And I feel that there is a huge plethora of options that I have right now where I can like scale this company into something else and provide an opportunity to all sorts of women all around the world with that platform.
Wow, that sounds like a very exciting project where women can be empowered, women from all walks and all backgrounds. That's great to hear. And let's go to Elvira. Elvira, what one project would you like to share with us about?
So I'll focus on like this year's project for me. And the one particular project I'm proud of is getting about 65 students to graduate, and currently 15 already employed just the past 9 years as a software engineer instructor. And what they basically learn is to become full stack developers, web developers. And they're already attached to very big companies here in the US. There are actually two who are working with Microsoft. So I feel like that is such a huge achievement for me. And the other thing is I put together an onboarding module for instructors in my current organization. So what basically happens is new hires who need, pedagogy skills to teach and any other necessary information that they need, as especially tech instructors, they have to go through that course and before they step in class. So basically it gets them prepared. So those are my most significant achievements, and I'm very proud of them.
Well, we're very proud of them as well. And what I hear is this tendency to inspire other people to also not only go into tech, but to fully discover or explore themselves and just follow their passions and pursuits. Thank you, Elvira. And Meriem.
For me, so I'm very proud of the recent work I'm doing here with my host. So I have a background in computer science, software engineering, and with my host, I started to learn about AI, machine learning, data science. So I'm really all about creating predictive models that bring insight to our customers based on historical data. And it's just amazing. So I'm working with this amazing data scientist. She's a woman, and she has a background in mechanical engineering, and she's a self-taught data scientist, and she's just brilliant. So she taught herself data science, and it just inspiring. So this is what I'm trying to do currently with her. So it's definitely challenging, inspiring. I'm learning every single day from the engineers and the data scientists, business product people. So I'm growing every single day, and I'm very proud of that.
Thank you very much for sharing. And here you go, a role model in this space that is very inspiring. So I hope we get more of these role models, and you ladies are certainly already role models for our viewers and many other people who you are impacting. Well, thank you very much for sharing your experiences with us. It's been an exciting time listening to you and learning from your experiences. And now we are going to take one or two questions from the audience. And for those of you whose questions will not be answered live, unfortunately, we do not have enough time to answer all your interesting questions, but we will try to answer the remaining questions in the comments. So let me ask this question about pay gap. Do you think men are being paid more in the tech industry? There's been conversation going on about the pay gap in all kinds of industries, from movies, from high-paid actors, all the way to managerial roles in different sectors. So how about IT? Do you think it exists? Is it exacerbated by any conditions? And again, anyone can take these questions. You don't have to all answer them. We will maybe take another question where you can contribute.
I can go for this one. So here in the US, there's definitely a pay gap between male and females. So in my country, it's kind of different. So like you're paid for the position. So either you're a male or female, you'll have the same salary. But I think, so it's a big issue. And I think women should be more self-aware and like self-confident. Like they can equally do the same tasks as their fellow men. And I'm gonna quote what Elvira said earlier. So women usually like won't apply for a job if they don't feel they're 100% qualified or they have exactly the right experience. So like if there is like a tiny 1-2%, they're not sure, like, yeah, I don't know, I think maybe I deserve this. I'm not like 100% given I don't know everything. So I think women just should, okay, even if you don't know 100%, you don't have like 100% the right experience, you just work hard, know your worth, and just ask for what you think you deserve. Yeah.
Thank you. Let's go to the last question that we have on our agenda today. What kind of woman do you need to be to succeed in the world of STEM or tech? What are your thoughts on this? Or what kind of advice would you give to women who are seeking to start a career or to progress in their career in STEM?
I'll go. So I think I will derail away from, like the technical skills that are very important for you to, succeed in this career. One of the really important thing that I've discovered professionally is the need for us to have the mental strength to survive. And that is, in terms of emotional intelligence. And my favorite advice is that, for example, when you're working, never address a situation in which you're vulnerable when you're feeling emotionally unstable. So what this means is if, for example, you're angry or disappointed with something at work or, in your team, you need to wait until the bad feeling goes away before you address this. Because, quote unquote, when you are very emotional at that point, when you want to address this, then unfortunately, the male counterparts use our emotional vulnerabilities to push us to our limits, and then we kind of lose it. So, and the other important thing is, you must remain and you must be a learner. You need to seek help, you need to accept mentorship, you need to contribute, expose yourself out there, put yourself out there and just show the world what you're made of. Then, yeah.
I can take this one as well. So I'd rephrase the question and I'll say, like, women do not have to be any certain type of women to be in this industry. They just have to be themselves. And I think one of the main skills that we need, especially in the IT and tech industry, is the negotiation skills. And I think that answers the question we earlier discussed as well, that when women are giving interviews for the positions, they do not negotiate their salaries. They feel that, okay, so whatever the XYZ is paying to us is fine, because I think I'm starting out with my career, that's okay. Men negotiate more. This is why they get paid more. And there are a lot of other reasons about the wage gap as well. But this is one of the main reasons. And also, again, backed by the facts and data, women suffer from imposter syndrome more than men. They get scared about like being loud about their accomplishments, about what they've achieved. And this is why they feel that the position that they have right now, they do not deserve it. I do not remember the name of that lady, but there is a rocket scientist at NASA, and she gave an interview to a publication, and she mentioned there that when she got hired at NASA, in starting, I think the first 3 years of her career, she did not seek help, or she did not basically take any sort of like help from her colleagues, because she used to think that NASA only hired her because she's a woman,
Mhm.
and they did not hire her because she deserves it. But obviously, things like when she gave an interview, it was like 13 years since she was working at NASA. So I feel the kind of the skills that women need to work on is basically the negotiation skills, is being loud about the accomplishment, is owning their story, owning their journey, and never never take the word from anybody else who think that this entire industry or this field is not built for them or is not programmed for them. So yeah, I think those are my 2 cents.
Mhm. Okay.
I add like a tiny thing. So being a woman in tech means that we never stop being curious. So just like be curious. If you are curious about tech, love tech, just go for it. Work hard, follow your dreams, and do what you love always. If you work hard enough, you're gonna get what you want.
These are all great pieces of advice. Be yourself. Never stop being curious. Follow your dreams. Be strong, and don't afraid to stand up for yourself, to negotiate, and always think about yourself and your mental health and mental strength. Thank you so very much for sharing these valuable pieces of advice. Um, and let me thank viewers for staying tuned right until the end. We're almost there. It's 12 already here in Washington, D.C. And thank you for keeping our panelists engaged with insightful questions. I would like to thank, in addition to our speakers, I would like to thank our communications team at Atlas Core for their back-end support. And we look forward to seeing you in our next People Power Hour. And I hope people from around the world will be able to join. And thank you, our viewers who came today from Pakistan, Zimbabwe, Uganda, Kenya, Albania, Canada, Peru, India, Bangladesh, Algeria, South Sudan. And there might be some more that I might have missed, so apologies for that. So thank you for joining our live talk from all the corners of the world. Stay tuned, and we will see you in our next People Power Hour.